everyone. Welcome back to the Roto Grinders Morning Grind podcast. I'm your host, Stevie TPFL. It's Tuesday, May 31st. It's the last day of May here. We've got a nice little 12-game late slate and a lot of action on Fantasy Draft and FanDuel, DraftKings, and pretty much just about any site that we got going on tonight. So a lot of action over at our sponsor, Fantasy Draft. They got an $8,000 home run tonight. They got a lot of 50-50s and cash games here. So make sure you guys are checking them out. If you like the podcast, support the podcast. But I plan on giving a Fantasy Draft a shot over here. Use promo code GRINDERS. That way you guys get incentives at Roto Grinders for Fantasy Draft for free for a year. So you guys get a lot of great content there. And you get a 100% deposit bonus up to $600. We're going to get right into the slate here. And I got my main man, Emac, joining me today. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing all right. I was doing really well on Friday over there on Fantasy Draft. I ended up finishing 6th in the $15,000 home run contest with a cool $360 payout.
You did a lot better than me on Friday. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday have been awful for me. And I feel like anytime that I get out of my like happy element here in my office and I'm on the road, and I was in Charlotte this past weekend, I don't ever do as well as I do when I'm just at home with, my normal routine.
Yeah, I've actually tried something a little different this weekend, and it's had varied results. I've played more tournaments because on each of the days I was a little unsure of where I wanted to go with pitching, and I felt there would be a lot of overlap in certain areas, and of course Coors Field was in play. So I tried my hand at some tournaments, had a great early sweat with the Washington Nationals. I did not play Noah Syndergaard and had all those home runs, and then it all went south when Wade Miley started pitching. It was fun while it lasted.
Yeah, I had one good team this weekend. I think it was on Saturday. Yeah, it was on Saturday. I looked at the slate for about 2 minutes, and then I opened up the Vegas odds, and I had seen that Gio Gonzalez and Adam Wainwright was at an 8.5, and Wainwright was favored, and I said, that line looks really weird, and I stacked up some Cardinals bats against Gio Gonzalez, and I had a pretty good success with that. And later I found out that the line had started at 7, and it just continued to climb, so not even paying attention to that. I just noticed that, at pro bono. So, but we got a lot of games to talk about, Emac. So let's get into it here. We're going to start with Boston at Baltimore. We got Kevin Gausman and Rodriguez making his first start of the season here for Boston. He's been rehabbing. They finally announced that he's going to make his first start here. I don't expect him to really be on any kind of pitch count, but is this really the matchup that we want to target him here at Baltimore?
I'm on the fence on this one. Baltimore's looked a little bit weak lately, shall we say. However, at any given time, they can go for double-digit runs, so I don't really want to pick on them with anyone. That said, I did take Stephen Wright, so that worked out for me. I don't want to roll the dice twice in a row. I think the kid Rodriguez has some electric stuff. I'm going to selectively target against him. I'm going to look to Chris Davis will be my main option. The reason being is Rodriguez has about a 38 hard hit percentage against fellow left-handers.
Yeah, lefty-lefty matchup for Davis as well. He should be really under-owned there. I don't hate it, don't love it. Don't like Machado too much. Honestly, I kind of want to take the wait-and-see approach. If I had to take anybody, I like Trumbo in this matchup against Rodriguez. I'm going to watch this game just because I want to see how Rodriguez looks. He's a guy with a lot of upside with strikeouts. He's a guy that, over 18% strikeout to lefties and righties. So this is definitely a guy that can rack up some Ks. Now, Gausman, on the other hand, he's been pitching pretty decent this season. He's a guy we've looked at in spots, but he has a tough matchup here against Boston. I think we can kind of stay away from him here.
I would agree. Boston, number 2 team in the league right now for scoring. No need to poke the bear.
Who do you like here for the Red Sox? Has to be David Ortiz, right? Just continues to mash.
Yeah, he would definitely be the top play. He's getting a little spendy on a couple of the sides. He got the day off on Sunday, so he should be good to go. But he would be the premium guy. Still can't believe he is going to retire at the end of this year.
Yeah, and then he came back on Monday and hit another home run. So he has at least 20 fantasy points in 6 straight games, home runs in 3 straight, and home runs in 4 of the last 6. So David Ortiz is mashing the baseball right now. I just like playing Jackie Bradley Jr. He's having a great season. He's hitting .331. Nobody plays him, and he just continues to hit the baseball. Even the game that the streak kind of ended, he hit 2 balls deep to the warning track in that game. So it wasn't like he didn't have a chance to extend the hitting streak. What's your thoughts on him?
Yeah, I'm one of those people that hasn't really played him. I don't know why. I think because he had 2 false starts at the beginning of his career where he just kind of looked a little scattered and overmatched. And boy, have I certainly missed out. I will say that. I played him sporadically during that streak, but I had no idea he was on that kind of a streak till he hit like 20 or 21 in a row.
Xander Bogaerts comes in, and he's hit safely in a bunch of games. The streak went from Jackie Bradley Jr. to Xander here. He is expensive on a lot of sites, but I like him here just because I feel like he's going to continue to be under-owned, and he's always a threat for a multi-hit game.
Yeah, and he does have pop in his bat, so I think we're safe if we go that route.
Any other guys you want here from the Red Sox?
No, I'm willing to pass.
I don't mind Hanley in a tournament where he's cheap. On FanDuel, he's a little too expensive for me. Like the righties here against Gossman. He's a guy that a lot of home runs to righties. High WOBA, high BABIP, just everything you want in a pitcher that you want to target. I like the right-handed bats here, but don't hate some of the lefties. Washington at Philadelphia, Aaron Nola and Joe Ross. 2 really good young pitchers taking on each other here. What's your thoughts of these guys?
I would lean towards the Aaron Nola side a little bit more. However, the price is kind of the mitigating factor there. Ross is good against righties. However, he has some troubles against lefties. I think he projects as about a number 3 starter, but it's impressive to see what he's done as a youngster. This is just his 2nd season. I think he made about 10 or 15 appearances last year. But with regards to Nola, I was all ready to target him with Bryce Harper. However, Harper left in the 7th inning on Monday night after getting hit in the knee with a pitch.
If Harper's out of this lineup, I feel like that really boosts Aaron Nola here. I feel like he'd be in a really great spot at home.
I would definitely agree with that. It's gonna hinge on that. Otherwise, like on DraftKings, I think he's like 10-6. On FanDuel, he's 8-9. It's a little more manageable on FanDuel, but without Harper, I think that swings the odds in the favor of the Phillies getting the W.
Daniel Murphy having a big game, 3 RBIs, home run, a double in that game on Monday. He's an interesting option here against Nola. He'd be the one guy, if Harper's out of this lineup, that I would target where he's cheap. I'm not going to overpay for a guy like him. Like when we're looking at his price on Fantasy Draft, it's $7,600. That's really fair. I feel like he's in a good spot there. But if you go on over to FanDuel at $4,000, that just seems a little too much for me.
Yeah, this is where playing on multiple sites sort of helps you out. You can kind of pick your spots and not have to do something you don't want to do. Now, the key is you need to stick with that mantra for a while to have it pay dividends towards the end. But hey, there are a lot of sites out there that we can look to, and I think you're right. Our best chance of playing him is on Fantasy Draft.
So what's your thoughts here, like on a site like Fantasy Draft and a site like DraftKings where we have 2 pitchers? Do you have any merit to pitching both of these guys? I just, there's not a lot of bats that I want to target here. The total's low. I just feel like it's going to be kind of a pitcher's duel type of game. And if Harper's not in there, it's just like these guys could both go 7+ innings and put up good games against each other.
Yeah, I have no problem taking 2 pitchers that are squaring off. The main reason that I run down that route is pitchers on average win about 1/3 of the time in their starts. So that means it either goes to – there's 2 starters in each game, and then the bullpen can steal the win from them. So even if you're starting both pitchers, you really only have about a 45 to 55% chance of getting the win.
So any bats here you want to target against Joe Ross?
Oh, let's take a peek here. Anybody who is lefty, but nobody in particular jumps out. for me. We'll look at some of the numbers here. Do you like my professional stall there? Maybe Odubel Herrera. He's okay, but I would love to go with Mikael Franco. However, it's a righty-righty matchup, and Ross is good against righties. And then my next guy would be Ryan Howard, but he's batting 158 on the season, so I don't want really either of those guys.
Yeah, I'm not going to target righties here against Ross. That's why I said I like both these pitchers in this game. If Harper's out, I'm probably going to use both of these guys in tournaments and in cash games. I feel like both of them are playable. Who's ever cheaper is probably who I would go with. I feel like they have similar upside. Nola probably a little bit more K upside, but yeah, Herrera is the one guy that, I was kind of looking at here as well. So New York at Toronto, kind of seeing this pitching matchup last week. These guys just squared off last week at Yankee Stadium. It's J Happ against CC Sabathia, and honestly, they both pitched good. Like, we would have never expected CC Sabathia against Toronto to only give up 2 hits, but that's kind of what happened.
That was an aberration for Sabathia. I don't think I can. I don't think I can trust that, particularly in the Rogers Center. But if you look at Happ, he has had great starts the entire month, with the one exception being against Tampa Bay, where he went for negative 12 points. Otherwise, he's got 23 against Texas, 28 in San Francisco, that abomination, at home against the Rays, 17 in Minnesota, and then he put up 24 in Yankee Stadium. That's fantasy draft scoring. I think he's going to be my guy on multi-pitcher sites. I'm locking him in. It's kind of funny. This is not overly expected, but the underlying numbers have been there also for his last 30 or so starts. So I'm kind of believing this.
Yeah, he's pitching really well this season. Like you said, a lot of stuff is suggesting that he's not really terribly getting unlucky or anything. So when we're looking at the Yankees lineup, they just have a ton of lefties. And we're looking at Happ's numbers, 23.9% K rate dating back to the start of last season against lefties, 285 WOBA. Just everything suggests that this is a good spot for him. And when we look at home runs, 0.32 home run per 9 against lefties since the start of last season. So I like Happ a lot here. I'm right there with you. I don't mind him on one-pitcher sites as well. I feel like he's just in a great spot here. I am going to load up on bats against CC Sabathia. I don't expect that to happen again. I know he's been pitching decent this season when we're looking at the numbers, but when we look more in depth in it, the hard contact rate is way down, but the medium contact rate is still really high. The soft contact rate is really, really, really high at 25.6% this season. The home run per 9 is way down, but the xFIP and Sierra are suggesting him to regress by almost 2 points. So that's just screaming, let's look at some of these bats. Now, on the other hand, his hard contact is way down and everything else like I just said. So, do you fade Toronto here or do you stack them?
You stack them. I've got 3 guys that I like. Josh Double Dongelson, who has in his last 317 at bats, he has a 4.33 WOBA and a 340 ISO against lefties. We saw him get 2 home runs on Friday. That's the kind of upside he has. Joey Bats, just as good, a 406 WOBA and a 250 ISO over the last 2 seasons. And then former Mariner actually has been hitting cleanup since they've moved Joey Bats up to leadoff. So he's in a good spot there. And these 3 guys are my counter option against the Coors Field game, which we'll get to.
Yeah, definitely interesting plays pretty much across the board. Every day I give out 3 guys that I feel like are underpriced on fantasy draft that you can look at in cash games or tournaments. And my first one actually comes from this game. It comes from the Blue Jays side. I like Kevin Pillar a ton here in this game at 5,200. Just way too cheap for a matchup against CC Sabathia at Rogers Center. If you get a guy that had Pillar's upside at 5,200, it's really hard to overlook him. It just instantly stood out to me when I broke down the slate.
I did not scroll down far enough to see that. Not a bad play. Although he's his last 2 years, 250 at bats, he only has a 302 WOBA against lefties. That'd be my only concerning point. But he's cheap. They're projected to score some runs. If he can just get on base, maybe someone will push him in.
Yeah, it's a price point play for me. Matchup play. I just can't overlook that matchup, in my opinion. Moving on to San Francisco at Atlanta. Matt Witzler against Jake Peavy. I love stacking Peavy, man. I just love just loading up on bats against Peavy. It's something that I've done all season, but where do we do it here with the Braves?
Oh, goodness. Well, I think we have to look to Freddie Freeman. And I'm kind of left scratching my head after that. We guess Kelly Johnson will probably be in the lineup. He would be another guy. What do you think? Garcia's back up with the team. He's a potential. AJ Pierzynski's played the last couple days, so I don't think he's going to get a start. I think he'll be out. But I don't know. Do you trust Garcia in this one?
No, not in this one. I'm going to pretty much stick to playing Garcia against lefties right now.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess really Freddie Freeman. Oh, Malik Smith, depending on his price. He's still batting ninth, but he tends to steal some bases. And I think he had like a bases clearing triple or something over the weekend where he got a few RBI. So,
yeah, the one guy that I've been looking at for the Braves a lot, and make no mistake, when you talk to a guy that just watches the Braves a lot, and like he continues to tell you Gordon Beckham is hot and he's very happy in Atlanta and he's in the 2 spot. It's hard to overlook his price at 5,400 on Fantasy Draft with the recent production the guy's been doing in a matchup against Peavy. I really like Gordon Beckham here. Like, Emac, I never thought those words would come out of my mouth again.
No, but I will say this. I have played him a couple times over the last week because his price has been so good and he's been batting up in kind of the middle-ish portion, 5th or 6th in that lineup. So I'm not going to tell you no, Stevie.
Yeah, if he continues to hit second, though, man, that's a steal at second.
All aboard.
Choo-choo! Freddie Freeman at 2,900 on FanDuel. I feel like that's really cheap as well. You can look at him. What's your thoughts here on Matt Witzler?
Oh, I'm gonna have to say no. He's kind of got a platoon lean, and I just don't want part of him against the Giants. He gives up so much to lefties. In fact, hey, let's go right over there. I'm gonna say that Belt, Span, Panic are gonna be my guys in this matchup. You could even put in Brandon Crawford.
Yeah, you can't leave out Brandon Crawford. That's the power shortstop play, man. Like, when I play Crawford probably more than anybody else just because I love his upside. Like, he's a guy that multi-double game is always out there. The home run is always out there. The guy hits with power at shortstop, which is just pretty much limited to him, Machado, and Trevor Story, even Correa. So I think that Crawford at 3,200 on FanDuel, excellent price. Love Panic. Don't mind the lefties here. I'm with you here. It wouldn't surprise me if Matt Witzler goes out and throws a good game, but I'm not going to be one of those guys that play a lot of bats, or I mean a lot of him or bats against him.
Yeah, 363 WOBA over his last 35 starts to lefties.
Yep. Moving out, Chicago White Sox, New York Mets, Steven Matz against Matt Latos. Steven Matz has just been outrageous after that one bad start to start the season. He has just looked phenomenal.
Completely agree. The one thing we have to keep in mind is he is on that, we don't want to say pitch count, but they're keeping an eye on him, which is no surprise. They should with him being a youngster. And especially when you look at the struggles that what was once an embarrassment of riches in that starting rotation, Stevie, starting to see some holes in it now. And all of a sudden, Bartolo Colon, someone they have to count on again.
How did I was traveling. How did Matt Harvey do?
He went today. He spun a gem, shall we say, and ended up with the win. It was a 1-0 game. I think he won about seven clean innings.
Of course he did. I think the one tournament team that I threw in, I stacked against him.
Yeah, he had Carlos Martinez actually looked. Did not watch them. Their results were very good, going against the White Sox and the Brewers, respectively.
Things we want to note here, Austin Jackson dealing with like a toe injury. He's day-to-day. David Wright dealing with a herniated disc in his neck. he's day-to-day. Make sure those guys are in the lineup if you plan on playing them. Let's talk about this game. I feel like Steven Matz is definitely a guy like you mentioned we can look at here. The White Sox, pretty decent team just all around against left-handed pitching. They do strike out at a 21.8% clip this season, so that's interesting. I just like Matz a lot here in this game. I do not like Matt Latos, and that's probably why I like Matt so much. Any love for Latos before we talk about these bats?
None whatsoever.
All right, we're glad we're on the same page there. Let's talk bats here. Instantly just want to play our boy Cespedes just everywhere on this slate because I feel like he's going to be underowned, and Latos is a guy that we can definitely pick on with righties and lefties, and the hard contact rate is way up there against righties. And when we're looking at it, a 31% fly ball rate is definitely something we like when we're looking at Cespedes.
Yeah, I would definitely consider him. I think we want to go Conforto. I don't know what to do with Curtis Granderson. Has age finally caught up with him?
You know, we say that, and he just, every once in a while, he'll just have one of those big games or, you know, just a big hit and late in the game. So I feel like if he's cheap and you can get him at a good price, $8,100 on our sponsor site, Fantasy Draft, too expensive. You know, you can play Conforto for $500 less. So I think that if he's cheap on a site, then you take a shot on him in tournaments only just because he's a leadoff hitter at cheap. And it's a good matchup, but, you know, you're not going to overpay for him, right?
No, I wanted to look here. It's actually been 10 years, Stevie. It was 9 years. It was the 2007 season when he was with Detroit, where he did the 20 doubles, 20 triples, 20 home runs, and 20 steals.
Wow.
That's a long time ago.
that has to make you feel old, Mac.
It does. It does. I'm glad I looked because I was going to say, oh, wasn't that like 4 or 5 years ago that happened? No, it was a while back.
So, yeah, what's your thoughts on Asdrubal Cabrera here? He's hot, man. Like, when we look at his stats lately, he's just been putting a lot of good games together.
Yeah, where was this when he had his cup of coffee with the Nationals? I don't know. I think as a fill-in, he's fine. But as you mentioned, Matt Latos is someone we want to pick on.
Yep, don't mind the Mets stack here. I do like Matt's just about in any format. I don't know if I'm going to play him in cash on FanDuel. There's another guy that we're going to talk about here soon. But I definitely think he's in play. Is there any bats that you want to target against him?
No, the ones that would kind of jump out are the usual suspects: Jose Abreu, Todd Frazier. I don't think Avisel Garcia is going to make the lineup. Maybe a Brett Lowry, but these guys are just kind of good up and down the lineup. There's no real weak outs. They can put a solid six guys out there that are really good, but not great against Southpaws. So it's kind of hard to consolidate their production.
Yeah, I don't mind Abreu or Frazier as one-off plays in tournaments. They're definitely not cash game plays here. Pittsburgh at Miami, Garrett Cole, Jose Fernandez. Garrett Cole, overpriced across the industry. You know, this guy is not a guy you really want to target right now. He's pitching more to contact and not really getting a lot of strikeouts, but getting a ton of hits against him.
All right, here's where I'm going to leave the reservation a little bit, Stevie. I'm going to play him on DraftKings.
Is he cheap? I haven't opened DraftKings yet.
He's by comparison, yes, he's 9,600, so it's not a complete discount. But if you pair him with someone like Happ, who is I think he's like 76 or 7,400, it's a good pairing. But otherwise, you're looking at Arrieta for 13.3 and Jose Fernandez, who we haven't gotten to either yet, at 12 something. So all of a sudden, by comparison, Garrett Cole going against Miami, if Giancarlo Stanton is out, that's his consideration. If Stanton's in, I may have to go elsewhere because that means Ichiro Suzuki will sit and Christian Yelich is back from his injury. So sorry, completely flipped games there on you. But,
no, it's fine. And then
or flip sides, but
Dietrich is a guy that he got banged up over the weekend, so you want to pay attention to see if he's in the order. Like, these guys are the guys that really will beat you. And I get all that. Like, my issue with Garrett Cole is his swinging strike rate is down over 2%, and his contact rate is up over 5% this season. and he's not getting a lot of soft contact. So that all that worries me. And I just, when the XFIP and the Sierra are just suggesting like a 1.5 point or 1.5 run regression, I just can't get behind paying this price. I would take Nola or Ross before I would take Cole here.
Yeah, that's completely fair. And on FanDuel at 10,000, with the win being so important, and it looks like there are slight underdogs at this point. Yeah, I think it's more of a DraftKings only play for me.
Now let's talk Jose Fernandez. This guy, after a bumpy start to the season, he found his strikeouts. And when we're looking at the slate, there's 24 qualified pitchers on the slate. He has the best numbers against right-handed bats and just a little bit better than Joe Ross. But Fernandez, definitely the real deal. And the swinging strike rate is 15% this season, EMAC.
I'm not, because there's a slate on or a game in Coors, I'm not able to spend on pitching today.
Yeah, I feel like that's fair, but like on FanDuel at 11-1, that's not really spending, is it?
No. Well, let's do a quick peek here. So let's click him in. I'm going to click over here on the Coors game and just see what I can put together. Votto 3,800, Reynolds 3,800, LeMahieu. Yeah, you're right. It's still doable. Arenado, Story. You can still get 6 good bats. You'll have to go 2 extreme punts, but it's doable on FanDuel.
Then the next thing we're going to talk about is, we're going to talk about Arrieta here in a minute. He's only $900 more than Fernandez. So I feel like Fernandez is a great tournament option, but I still think Arrieta is going to be the cash game play on FanDuel one-pitcher site. So we'll talk about that here in a minute. We'll get your thoughts, and we'll be able to compare that when we start talking Arrieta. Bats in this game, for the most part, I'm way off all the righties for Pittsburgh. Like I said, Fernandez's numbers against righties are just ridiculous. No reason on a 12-game slate to take guys like McCutchen, Marte. The prices are high everywhere. I will take a shot on a guy like Ozuna and Polanco as one-off tournament plays.
Okay, I can see that one. The one guy I want to see his price is John Jaso. Where does he even qualify here?
He's pretty cheap at 5,200 on draft.
Oh, I don't have the right filter set. Yeah, there he is, 5,200. So the reason I want to look at him on fantasy draft is we don't have to worry about as much about position eligibility, because we could start 5 first basemen if we wanted to with the 3 infielders and the 2 utilities. You can only start 1 on most other sides. I don't want to go with him there, but he has a 355 WOB over the last 2 years. 2.5 years. That's over 605 at bats. So it's a pretty good sample size. We know that Fernandez struggles a little bit. As your punt one off, you're going to get somebody that's 2-3% on tops. And
he won't even be that high.
Yeah. And you're going to get a potential double upside. So while it doesn't seem like a lot, it really can be. And can be a difference maker in tournaments.
And he should bat leadoff in that game. I don't hate that call. Moving on to the next game, Dodgers at Chicago Cubs. Right now, we're recording the podcast the night before. The wind is neutral in this game. It's like 4 miles an hour, like blowing across the field. So don't have to worry about wind. But we do have to worry about Dexter Fowler. Just want to mention he's another guy that you want to pay attention to. He's dealing with a sore right heel. If he's in the lineup, he's definitely in a good spot here against Casimir. So let's talk Arrieta. We mentioned Fernandez. We mentioned Arrieta. Their price tags are pretty similar. Just at first glance across the industry, they're pretty close. Even on draft, Fernandez is 24. Arrieta is, 25-2. If you had to pay up for one of these guys in a cash game lineup, who would it be?
I'm thinking the wheels are turning. Oh my God. They both give me pause. They're definitely the top 2 plays, but how do you, I could see either one going a little bit awry. The one thing that concerns me a little bit with Arrieta is he's in the 6 games since his no-hitter, he's given up 10 runs. And I think 6 of them have come in the last 2 or 3 games. So he's been hit a little bit, but on the flip side, Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to go with Fernandez. It's
When
close though, Stevie. Which side would you come down on?
Yeah, when I start looking at everything, I start looking at K percentages from teams. The Pirates only 18.4% with the fourth highest WRC plus against righties. Fernandez is not your average righty, very good against righties. That's what they're going to have a lot of. And then the Dodgers, they're ranked 19th in WRC plus, and they're striking out over 20% of the time against righties. So I think I lean Arrieta at home here. I feel like he has a slight edge, and it's really because I like the bats behind him here against Kazmir more than I would like the bats, for Fernandez. Like Fernandez, I'm playing for the strikeout upside, so I feel like he's the tournament play because he's a guy that can easily double-digit strikeouts. But Arrieta's the guy that could pitch 7, 8, 9 innings here and just have the full package type game.
Yeah, I guess part of it is I'm still living out in the Washington D.C. area. I watched a lot of Baltimore Oriole games, and I remember Arrieta from early on when I moved out here. And so here are his numbers over the 2010: 4.6 ERA, 2011 5, 2012 a 6, 2013 a 7. Yet somehow he's managed to drop his career numbers to 3.5 for his ERA. And that's on the strength of being with the Cubs with a 2.5, a 1.8, and then a 1.7 this year. So he's a completely different pitcher. And I probably need to factor that in more, that this seems to be more of the real thing. I mean, here he is, he's 30, but he seemingly has turned a corner, which is just interesting.
Yeah, it could be so many different things. You'd really have to dig into it a lot. And I'm sure experts have, and I haven't. I just know that just watching this guy, he's just a dominant pitcher. And like I said, I really like the bats here against Kazmir. I feel like we can definitely target some of these guys. Like one of my favorite plays, if Fowler's out, he's definitely one of the guys that I like if he's in. He's really good against lefties. And Ben Zobrist is really good against lefties as well. And I feel like he's in a great spot here.
Yes, I'm good with that. His WOBA's all just shy of 400 since the beginning of 2014. And then, hey, another lefty first base matchup, Anthony Rizzo. Not too shabby himself.
Now, yeah, what's your thoughts here against, for Chris Bryant against Kazmir? Bryant, a guy that's, we were like, where are the home runs? Where are the home runs? And they have definitely come 4 home runs over the last 10 games.
I'm okay with it. I would still prefer somebody in Coors for similarly priced, maybe at a different position. But if I wanted to do something different away from Coors, then I think Bryant is up there with Donaldson at the position.
Okay. Any other bats that you want to mention here? Do you want to take any of these Dodgers bats against him?
No, I'm gonna pass. Although I did have a few of them against Bartolo on Sunday Night Baseball, which helped me climb up the leaderboards in a tournament and salvage my Sunday games.
St. Louis at Milwaukee. If you want to talk about a stack that I just absolutely love today, St. Louis gets a nice positive ballpark shift here. I absolutely love St. Louis stack here. One of my favorite stacks because everybody's going to have Coors. Everybody's going to have Toronto at Rogers Center. Do not forget about St. Louis at Milwaukee.
Completely agree. I think we can look to Almeida Diaz. I'm sure I'm not saying that correctly. We've got Holiday, Hazelbaker, Brandon Moss, Grichuk, Piscotty. Piscotty was a late scratch today with food poisoning, but you can look to all those guys. Matt Carpenter. There's a lot to like from St. Louis tomorrow.
Yep, and it's actually going to lead me to my second fantasy draft play here. This guy not in the $5,000 range. He's not in the $6,000 range. You would expect him to be in that range, but Matt Adams at 7,800 is swinging the bat really good right now. He's 7,800. I feel like he's a really safe play, and I hate saying that, but when we look at Willie Peralta, it's bad. It's so bad against lefties. It's 377 WOBA, 35.7% hard contact rate to lefties, massive home runs per 9. Just everything screams Matt Adams in this baseball game.
Yeah, the only concern is he's been dealing with a bit of a back injury.
Back me up with nothing. Hit the ball over the ballpark.
He does have a boatload of RBI and doubles in his last 10 games.
He's fine. He got back in the lineup. He's fine. He's gonna show how fine he is with hitting one out to right field tonight.
All right.
He might even be in another segment we got later on.
Oh boy.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Mike Leake, what's your thoughts on him here? I want to get your thoughts.
He is such a tough read. I'm another guy, sort of stigma that I don't want to play him anymore. But you've got him, you got Matt Latos. They both came out of Great American Ballpark, formerly with the Reds. Leake's going to have some good starts. I don't want to play him tonight.
Leake's a guy, he's not going to get you any strikeouts. He gives up a ton of contact, and it's a lot of hard contact.
He's a poor man's Michael Wacha.
Yeah, he does get a nice ground ball rate, but I'm not against stacking the Brewers against him here.
Yeah, I think we can go that route. Depending on who's healthy for the Brewers, I think that's not a bad play.
Yeah, I'm actually all over this game. I feel like this is going to be a game that might be overlooked. If you're playing on FanDuel, I really like Chris Carter at 2,900 in tournaments. That's just too cheap for a guy that has 2 home run upside.
Yeah, and we've already seen him do that a couple times this year.
He's 72 on draft, too. I feel like he's definitely a guy you can look at just about anywhere. Any bats here? Like I said, I'm all over this game. I like the 1 through 5, 1 through 6 on both sides. But is there anybody you want to kind of single out?
No, I think you're right. This is where we can look to some one-offs if we're trying to go in Coors, or if we want to counter that move, then I think we can look for synergy plays and run 4 or 5 guys.
Man, that lightning lineup. I have lightning going off behind me so bad right now. It is storming so bad in Florida right now. Tampa at Kansas City, Drew Smyly and Dylan G. I don't really like Smyly in this matchup. It's just, is there any upside here for Smyly against Kansas City?
All right, here's my other potential look on FanDuel. Definitely no. I don't really want him on the road, and we've got to try to do the best we can to get wins. If we look on Fantasy Draft, Smyly is 17,000. That's not horrible, but it's not a complete steal. I think most people look to somebody like Joe Ross, definitely with Hap. However, I'm kind of liking him over there on DraftKings. We'll see where I land, but he's someone that made my initial list. He's like number 6 on it, so I don't know where I'm going to end up. But the thing that intrigued me is the Royals have been a bottom 3 team against lefties this season. They have the second lowest strikeout rate, so we're kind of missing that upside a little bit. But they have so many people that are on injured and out right now that looking at the bottom 3 or bottom 4 now of their lineup, it's just horrible.
Yeah, I get all of that, and I would understand why, you might like him here, and maybe a safer option. I just don't see the upside. Like, yeah, they do struggle against lefties. Salvador Perez, better against righties. He's out of the order. Moustakas does hit lefties well, but, the guys that they have called up here, outside of Lorenzo Cain, he definitely hits lefties really well. Brett Eibner, another right-handed bat that's just been mashing the baseball right now. Whit Merrifield, another right-handed bat that's smashing the baseball right now. Like, they called up some righties. Like, so they had some injuries and stuff that Alex Gordon, another lefty that went down. Like, I feel like the call-ups here might actually help this lineup against left-handed pitching. They called up righties.
All right, we're going to agree to disagree on this one. I can't believe I'm planting my flag on J.A. Happ and Drew Smyly. What has the world come to?
I do like I definitely like your boy Happ. I just can't get behind Smyly. I like some of these Royals bats here. Eibner, Merrifield, and Cain, the 3 guys that I want to target the most. Whit Merrifield, only 7,500 over on draft. I definitely think you can give him a look there. But the third and final not Coors plays for this slate for fantasy draft is going to be Brett Eibner. He's 5,700 on fantasy draft. I really do like his matchup here against Smiley. You can like Smiley, EMAC, but you got to get behind it a little bit at that price tag.
Yeah, price dictates everything. Heck, that's why I'm talking about Smiley.
You should get a pretty good lineup spot too, wouldn't you think?
I bet he will. I bet he'll probably be at least 6th or 7th.
I was thinking like 5th or 6th, so we're pretty much on the same page there. So I definitely agree. It's definitely an interesting game because I'm not saying that like I like the Rays bats or anything like that, but you can't like hate them here, right?
No, not at all. Not at all.
If we had to target some of these bats here against G, who would you like?
Oh, well, I don't know. Probably almost all of them. It's hard. Once again, it's hard to pick consolidated stuff. I kind of like Corey Dickerson. He's dropped down in the order to 7th, but his price is down so low because of his performance. I mean, they had him locked in for the first month of the season as a cleanup hitter. He's not a bad hitter. He's just kind of slumping right now. Gets a lefty-righty matchup. Yeah, G doesn't strike a ton of people out. I don't want to say he pitches to contact, but he kind of pitches to contact. I mean, there's a lot of balls in play, and he counts on his defense. I think with that, we're going to see that with some of the injuries, with the professional guys not there and the understudies coming up from AAA in the farm system, might help Tampa Bay score some runs. But I don't know. As a whole, they're just not as good against righties as they are lefties.
If any of these lefties for the Rays draw good lineup spots, I don't mind Dickerson in tournaments, even if he does hit 7th. He has the upside here. G's a guy that gives up a 35.8% hard contact rate since the start of last season to left-handed bats. Brad Miller's an interesting option at 2,900 if you're playing on a site like FanDuel where you need a shortstop. On a site like Fantasy Draft, we're not typically going to pay $7,600 for a shortstop when you have 3 infielders and 2 outfield or two utility plays. So I'm not totally in love with Miller over on draft, but I do like him on FanDuel where you have to play a shortstop.
I would definitely agree on that one, and he has some pop in his bat. So,
Cincinnati at Colorado, Coors Field, Jonathan Gray, John Moscott. Every single bat in this game, move on.
Yeah, I don't think we need to spend time on it. That's pretty much the case.
Moscott hasn't shown anything to suggest that he's going to be a guy that's going to be able to excel in Coors like all these guys. Blackman, Arenado, Story, Cargo, 6. If you want to go different in tournaments, use the bottom of the order.
Yeah, and then on the flip side, we got Adam Duvall hit his 12th and 13th home runs today. He had a double dong. Votto's too cheap. Greg gives up a ton of power to lefties, so we looked at him. Jay Bruce, Brandon Phillips will be in the middle of anything that's going on, and if Tucker Barnhart's in there at catcher on the sites where you need a catcher and he's cheap, I think we can go to him again.
Yeah, I'd mentioned Duvall on the podcast yesterday. I said that he was a great play, so I'm glad he hit 2 home runs. Like, nothing better than making me look good, Adam Duvall. I've been talking about him all year. Just good power, and he's not talked about a lot. And 13 home runs is definitely something to, note. So I love the call of Duvall. I'm going to definitely play him here against Jonathan Gray. Jonathan Gray, outside of Coors, I feel like this guy's really good, and I talk about it all the time. But inside Coors, he really struggles. He struggles with righties, so definitely look at an Adam Duvall. And like you mentioned, don't hate the cheap plays, especially when you get a catcher punt at Coors Field. Minnesota at Oakland, Tyler Duffy and Eric Surkamp. Man, 2 really solid, great pitchers here.
In another universe, in another dimension, probably Stevie, but not in this one.
All right, so we're on the same page here. When we're looking at the slate, God, it's O.co. So, it's not a great ballpark to target hitters in, but these 2 pitchers are just Man, they're bad. I want some exposure in tournaments to guys like Valencia, Sano, Plouffe, maybe even Simeon. I don't want to go too crazy. And if Josh Fegley is in the lineup, I feel like you can definitely look at him as well.
Yeah, and you got Chris Davis, Stephen Vogt, Dozier, Eduardo Escobar. I think this is another game where you can look to for a little one-off plays or maybe a 2 or a 3-man synergy thing. If you're trying to save, go with Coors and get one of those expensive pitchers.
Yeah, I definitely think Vogt to catch. I don't know why I was thinking Duffy was a lefty, but yeah, Chris Davis.
Danny Duffy, is he a lefty?
Yeah, that's what it was. Chris Davis, 14 home runs this season, continues to show power. I definitely think you can look at him. It's just an ugly game. I don't really want to recommend either pitcher, but I don't want to stack the bats. I'm going to play these guys as fill-in plays. Outside of Davis, you mentioned good things with him. I definitely agree with you there.
All right. One more game, Stevie.
I know. Last one, Detroit at LA, Hector Santiago, Anibal Sanchez. We want to talk about two pitchers. So we get a late game, 10:05, and we get a lefty against Detroit, and they're on the road, so they're going to get, guaranteed 9 innings. I like the Detroit stack.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. The guy that I have kind of circled because he doesn't play every day is James McCann.
James McCann is definitely a guy that I like. We all know that. I have a massive crush on James McCann.
I was not aware of this.
Oh, really? Anytime he played a lefty last year, I played him. And I'm sure people that listen to the podcast saw it on Grinders Live and write-ups last year. But anytime he played a lefty last year, I played him.
Yeah, the numbers are there. He's got a 200 ISO, which is what we look for, and a 350 WOBA, and he's punt priced.
Santiago, he really started the season solid, but, man, has he regressed as the season's gone along. He's a fly ball pitcher against a power team, and he gives up a high hard contact rate. This is a good spot for Detroit. I like Ian Kinsler. You mentioned James McCann. Love JD Martinez and Miguel Cabrera. Even Victor Martinez, Babin, Castellanos, all these guys are in play for me here. And on draft, I don't know if you know this or not, EMAC, you can play 6 guys. I'm going to have a 6-man Detroit stack here on this slate.
Yeah, I think this is the perfect antidote to a lot of people landing on Coors or maybe even Toronto. The one thing I like about Kinsler, in his career spanning 1,400 at-bats against lefties, he has a 382 career WOBA. That's pretty impressive.
I'll take it. Can you spit off some more good stats here against Detroit? Sell me even more.
JD Martinez, almost a 400 WOBA and a 290 ISO since the beginning of 2014, which is better than Miggy Cabrera, but not quite as good as Victor Martinez and his 425 WOBA. So, yeah, you can't go wrong here.
Man, I might be onto something here with Detroit stats.
Let's cut the podcast a little early. We'll leave this last game out.
Right? All right, time to edit it, Stevie. Get that game out of there. Throw in the home run derby afterwards. Just say it was an error, right?
Exactly.
Anibal Sanchez really struggles with righties. I like our boy Trout and Pujols, and I don't mind Giovitelli here against him.
Yeah, I'm good with all those. Yunel Escobar, I think, is dinged up, so be careful with him. Somehow Johnny Giovitelli was batting 5th today.
That's right. You bat him 5th. You just let him keep hitting the baseball.
Oh, good God. All right. Well, my condolences to our friends who are Angels fans, Al Zeidenfeld and Paul Arrington, a.k.a. Boggs Light.
Is there any other bats that you want to target here from this game?
No. Trout, Calhoun, Pujols will be it.
All right. I just made my Detroit stack on Fantasy Draft. We'll see how the lineup plays out. But that's pretty much going to wrap it up here for us, EMAC. Let's play some Home Run Derby. Seeing that you're my guest, I'll let you lead it off here.
All right, I'm going with I can't remember if this is one that'll offend you or not, but Josh Donaldson.
Nope, that one's fine. I don't like the Coors plays. I think they're too chalky. I hinted towards it. I'm going Matt Adams here. I'm calling the home run. I love him here in the spot.
All right, I am going to go with. You know what? I'm going with Brandon Belt. He got one today. I think he's going to get another one on Tuesday.
I'm going to go JD Martinez, sticking to Detroit here. Love him in the matchup against Santiago. I wonder if he can hit one as far as I did at Angel Stadium.
Does tape of that exist anywhere?
Oh, yeah, there's definitely video of my home runs.
Oh, I'll have to round that up at some point. Let's go with a real cheapie here, or at least a cheapie on most sides. I'm going to double down with Dickerson and Miller. One of them's going to get a home run tomorrow.
Nope, got to give me one. There's no doubling down nothing. No, that's cheating.
Damn it! Then I'm going with Brad Miller.
You're taking that extra bet. I see what you're doing there. That's definitely an interesting play. I'm going Mike Trout. You went Donaldson. I'm taking one of your chalk. I'm going chalk here. I just love this late game. A lot of upside.
All right, that works out. And then, yeah, that's where we want to go with these.
If you had to pick one pitcher not named Arrieta, Jose Fernandez, Steven Matz, Garrett Cole on this slate to pick up a win, who would it be?
J-Hap.
I like it. I'm going to stick with my guns here. I'm going Aaron Nola against your Washington Nationals.
Yeah, that's a good one. Again, if we find out Harper's out, he got hit in the knee with the pitch and left in the 7th inning. If he's out tomorrow, that changes the complexion of the team entirely. And I think that is a good way to go, Stevie.
If you want to go a little safer, if Harper's in the order, you can flip that right to Joe Ross. So if Harper's in there and you want to go and you feel like it's just a little too risky with Nola Harper in there, and who knows if he's going to be 100% with taking a ball in the knee is painful.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a deep bruise. It could have just been off the side. It could have scared him. I didn't get a chance to see it, but I just was reading tweets about it.
All right, Emac, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
No, happy back to work, everybody who enjoyed the 3-day weekend. Thank you to everyone who has served the country at some point or in some capacity or another. And what the heck am I going to listen to on my commute tomorrow? If I was on the podcast, I already know how it turns out.
I was going to say you could listen to the interview with Ty Dillon, but that won't be up until like Wednesday or Thursday.
All right. Well, I think I have one of the Ducky Succumbs series article or podcast. Maybe I'll listen to that in the morning.
So for everybody else listening to the podcast, we appreciate it. Make sure you guys like and review and subscribe on iTunes to our podcast here at rotogrinders.com. If you do that, you get me, the Morning Grind, and you get Dan on the Fantasy Fix. So make sure you guys do that. Make sure you guys head on over to fantasydraft.com, where if you play in the $8,000 home run, you might lead until the late game, and then you'll get passed by my Detroit stack. So make sure you guys check them out. Use promo code Grinders. They've been nice enough to sponsor this every day, so make sure you guys check them out. If you're playing the 3-game early slate, don't have anything for you because I just honestly realized that they put up slates for it. So make sure you guys are checking out the incentives programs, the grind down and stuff like that if you're going to play that 3rd-game early slate. If I had to say anything, Akuma against San Diego is definitely very interesting. So leave it to you guys to do a little research on that. Stack Houston against Corbin and take whatever pitcher you want. So until tomorrow, where we'll have Pepsi 7 join us, I will see you then, and good luck tonight.